Okay, are we on?
It should be going any second now.
Any second. And I'll know that. And how will we know?
I think it should be right now, as a matter of fact.
As a matter of fact, I think it is. It says live, 13
Yeah, then
seconds.
we're good.
Well, what do you know? Well, wonders never cease. Here we are, boys and girls, on time, actually probably a little bit early, for the March 2020 meeting of the Chicago CTIUG Group. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you know that we're located in the beautiful downtown Evanston, Illinois library. And we are now today, for a change, in the Newberry Room, which is a little different locale. So if you're planning on coming to be in person at this meeting, if you're watching it, say as you're driving here on your infotainment linked YouTube viewer, you'll know that we're on the third floor in the southwest corner of the Evanston Public Library. Anyway, we have the usual suspects all lined up. Vic Stirrup, our president, Jim Mazurek, tech support, Ken Griffith, who's also assistant tech support, shall we call you? And I'm here as well, Hal Shanafield, fair chairman, secretary of the group, General Dog's Body. And we have a pretty good show lined up today. Vic has brought a lot of interesting stuff to show, some brand new stuff, but I'm going to let him tell you all about it. So, Vic, take it away.
All right. The past couple of months have been pretty busy for me in that I had to go out of town to help cover my household. Hang on a second. Okay, I left my notepad with all my notes downstairs in the parking lot in the car. Past couple months, I had to spend a month out at my daughter's place. She was expecting, and her husband is in service and he's on duty. So, so I'd be out there, take care of the other kids, clean the place, drive the cars, stuff like that. And I'm a proud grandfather of a bouncing baby boy. So since I had to spend a month out there, I brought my own TI system, and you can be sure that I had brought lots of stuff to work on. Parts of the stuff that I worked on was the Plato library. Now, if you remember, that's about 438 disks that I found out were in PC99 format, and the compact flash adapter, the Nano PB, uses uses V99. So I had to convert those over. And then I found out the file names were too long for TIDIR to put the files on a compact flash card. So I had to manually rename the files shorter to be able to get them to fit. But the bottom of the line is I've got Plato on the compact flash. I've got the operating system, the interpreter cartridge is on the compact flash. So we have that. Another thing is I've been working with Mike Lunsford online for the past few months for this amazing cartridge that he has. It's called Supernotes Express. This is a supercard. Most supercards are editor assembler GROM plus 8K memory for you to work with. This is a multi-banked supercard of editor assembler plus 32K. That's 4 8K GROMs or 4 8K memory banks that you can use. And these switches let you select which bank you want. They're binary. Down is bank 1, 1 up is bank 2, 2 up is bank 3, and 1 down, 1 up is bank 4. So you have 4 different banks. One is for the OS, and you got 3 you can actually use. So I'm going to plug this in, and we'll start using this. First, you have to shut the console and any other peripherals, in this case, a nano PB, off, and make sure that both switches are in the down position. Then you open up the case and you can slide it into the cartridge port. Now, this might seem strange, but as it turns out, with these stacked chips, there's not enough room to have to put this board into a regular cartridge case. So we'll turn on the Nano PEB, we'll turn on the console. Hang on a second. Turn it on again. Okay. And get the menu screen. And you see it says 1 for TI Basic, 2 for Editor Assembler, and 3 for SuperNotes Express. Now the SuperNotes, I'll just show you how it works. We'll press 3 for SuperNotes Express, and you get it. This is version 1.0. Press any key for SuperNotes. Control 1 for the first time loading. When you first put the menu and the SNE software onto the cart, then you would press Control 1. And also it says use the standard editing keys. So Mike also included in what he sent me, the at least on disk, his construction notes on why he made this cartridge, how he made it, what it does, and how to operate it. So the cartridge has the full editing capability of just like any other text editor in TI. So we'll press the Enter key, and you see here's the name of this, is SNE. I named this for me, Vic. It is SuperNotes Express. This is version 1.0, and we are on page 1. However, we're on bank number 1, which is where the operating system is. So it's not accessible for the user, because if you tried to use this bank, you'd overwrite the program and lose it. So you select the bank, like I said earlier, by flipping the switches up. So we flip both of them up, and this is what I had entered. Welcome to the SuperNotes Express cartridge. This allows you to write notes on 4 banks of 9 pages of 860 characters each. Okay, so that's an error there because you only get to write notes on 3 of the banks. So using the standard TI editing keys, function ESDX, I can move down. I can delete. Oops, I don't want caps. I have to press function 2, insert again. There we go. 3 banks of 9 pages in each bank. So you got each bank, has 9 pages of 860 characters each. So you can press function 4, which is standard like TI Writer or Funnel Web Editor, editing for the next page, or function 6 for a previous page. And then this explains your switch positions. Both down gets you to bank 1. That's where the program is. It's called home. The left up, the right down is bank 3. Right up, left down is bank 4. Both up is bank 2. This one. Notice how it says you're on bank 2 and page 1. So turn the console on with both switches down and do a reset function equal with either or both switches up. This thing isn't buffered, so that helps protect the contents of the memory from getting spiked, either turning the console on or turning it off. Now I'm going to press function and 4 for the next page. And notice we're on page 2 of bank 2. Here's the operating instructions. Again, Mike used the standard like TI Writer or Funnel Web text editing characters or commands. F1 deletes a character, F2 adds one. Well, you just saw me do that as I edited that page. F3 deletes a line, F4 takes you to the next page, 5 not used, 6 the previous page, 7 lets you tab in, and F8 adds a line. And of course, your function E, S, D, and X keys moves the cursor. Now we'll press function 4 again. And now you see we're on page number 3. The improved SuperNotes Plus that Mike is working on for Sam's super memory card has more editing features available because it's got a little more than 8K to put in the operating system, the menu, and everything else. This cartridge, you just couldn't squeeze these in. F9 would be a help key that would show you this screen and the previous screen on what your editing commands are. And F0 would manually save a page because this cartridge cannot save or load to disk or anywhere else the stuff you actually type on it. But this is a programmer's cartridge. This is for somebody who's programming an assembly or something using editor assembler. And as Mike says in his notes, just wants to make a quick note on what he's doing that he can retrieve later. So this is quite an amazing thing. We're going to go back a page.
Question, when it says F0 manual save page, where does it save it to? Save it to the,
In that case, it would save it to the Sam's memory, not to the cartridge.
I see, okay. And this is for SuperNotes Express. This is the
This
work in
is
progress.
SuperNotes Plus.
SuperNotes Press.
Yeah, we have SuperNotes Express.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Is what we have here. So SuperNotes Plus uses the SAMs. So I'm going to press
Okay.
function 6 here, and we go back to page 1 again. Over here, function 4, function 4, function 6, page 2, function 6, page 1. So now if we flip a switch, we're on bank number 4. Or no, we have to go all the way to home first and then select another bank. I must have typed the same thing in on bank 3. We're going to go back to home, go to bank 4. No, I've done this a couple times. So just about every bank has the same notes in it. So function 4 will take us to the next. Function 4 will take us to the next. See, that one's blank there. Do a function equal, quit. Okay, so you see here, I intentionally abused the cartridge and it's lost the menu. So you go like, what about all that stuff I just typed in? Well, this is what you would do if you first got the cartridge and it was blank. You would press 2 for editor assembler. Now I happen to know on my Nano PB, I have the operating system disk in position disk number 2. So we're going to do things a little differently than you're probably used to on E and A programs. Is we're going to press 3, load and run, and then caps here. Disk 2 menu. Okay, it's not on disk 2. There we go. All right, so it took it almost a second to load the menu program. That's the program that puts the menu up on the TI selection screen. But instead of entering a file name now, you press function 9 to go back, and you press 3 again, and then you have disk 3 SNE for SuperNotes Express. Now it's reloading the SuperNotes Express program into the 32K memory, not the cartridge. Then you press enter, and the program name, the start name is SNE. Okay, now we got it sort of like a green screen here. Press Control 1 for first time loading. Since we're reloading the software, here it is. What this does is it'll copy the menu and the operating system program from the 32K memory expansion into the cartridge. So Control and 1. It shuts off, which might scare you the first time you do that. You go, wait a minute, why is it restarting? And here's SuperNotes Express again. So you have to have the switches in the correct positions when you either start up the computer or shut it down to avoid spiking that bank one that has the program in memory. Here we do it again. Press select 3 for SuperNotes Express. You have the cyan screen. This is not the first time we've loaded the operating system program. We did it before when it was a green screen. So we don't do the Control 1 trick again. Press enter. Give the cartridge a name. Okay, what do you want to name this cartridge? Okay, call it Hal.
Oh, God, no. Let's call it something else.
Okay, now it asks you if you want to initialize the bank. Now, if you just got the cartridge and you haven't entered anything, you'll want to initialize everything to set everything to zeros. But we still have data on bank 2. I'll show you that in a minute. So no, we don't want to initialize bank 2. Don't want to initialize bank 3 or bank 4. Okay, now we're up on bank number 1 that's named SNE Hal. That's the bank that has the program in it. We're not permitted to write on this. So we'll select the bank by flipping. I'll flip both switches up and press enter. And there you see we are on bank number 2, page number 1. All the data was retained in the cartridge.
Cool.
So to briefly go through Mike's notes, he describes in intro his personal experience with the supercart was in 1982. We're at the Southern Nevada Users Group meeting in Las Vegas. A group member found an article describing how to make a supercart, which is editor assembler plus 8K. These are used in various things for like playing MIDI album, Plato, the early versions of Rock Runner. There's other programs that require a supercart. What Mike has made is a multi-bank supercart that has 4 8K banks of memory in it, not just one. And so he went to make a supercart, and he did, and it worked. But when he went to program it, he was writing the code and running it, and then he found out that when he turned it off and then restarted the computer, he tried to launch a program, it wouldn't run. It's because the editor assembler was not loading utilities it uses correctly. So then make a long story short, he came up with this program and did everything that I've told you about. Any questions?
How many pages of documentation are there, Vic?
Well, I printed this out in a rather large format, 14 points, so I could read it. I'd say there's about 12 pages of his on-screen notes, but 3 of the pages are how to load the software into the computer. Load in the software. In order to load and use the SNE card, the machine must have 32K memory enhancement and a disk system of some sort. So it goes how to load the menu program, how to load the SNE program. And some things to know, sometimes if the cartridge is pulled out with the console on, or for any other reason, he doesn't say if that's with the color bar screen, which is supposed to be neutral. That's supposed to be the safe time you can pull the cartridge out. He says there's a possibility that you will lose the menu from the TI main screen. This happens, and then I just showed you. You reload menu, you reload SNE, and you've got it. He goes into how to change the battery. And disclaimer, I am forewarning that I will not be responsible for any data loss and that you are using this program on your own and not professionally. I am in the process of putting together a companion program, one that will allow for more editing options, but with the ability to move your saved SNE pages to disk or floppy or possibly TIPI in the future.
Cool.
So Hal, you want to try typing anything in? Seeing how well the editing keys work for what
No,
you're familiar with?
I'm going to take your word for it, but
Okay.
it's a marvelous program in that it allows someone who has a cartridge or a Sam's card even
Mhm.
to transfer it from place to place, much like a flash drive on a more
Mhm.
modern computer.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead and take those out. You're going to read it.
which is something that's, I think, been a little bit lacking in that before you had to transport an actual floppy disk. And
Mhm.
as we all know, floppy disks are vulnerable to all kinds of damage and all sorts of magnetic problems. And over the years, God knows, we've had lots and lots of disks which have been corrupted and lots of disks which have over the years kind of lost some of the data that's been on them just through the aging process. Lord knows, as I get older, I'm losing a lot of data that I once had. So, and I'll hopefully will remember the instructions that you've given us here today
Mhm.
and that Mike has written out. But I find this to be, as a writer, as a former journalist, I find this to be a very exciting program. And I appreciate the fact that someone has taken the time to create something like this.
Mhm. Yes, Mike was nice enough. He sent me this cartridge for review, and I promised I'd show him it, demonstrate it at the meeting,
Yeah.
and put it through its paces.
And so far, it's been a pretty good TI demo in that it hasn't crashed. In fact, it makes me a little suspect that maybe it isn't actually a TI demo.
Well, I deliberately shut the computer off with the switches in the wrong position. So I would deliberately lose the menu selection on the TI selection screen so I could show you how to load it.
Yeah.
And the control one, the first time you've loaded it, initializing it, stuff like that. Now, if you go to, we're on page 3. If we go to page 4, there's nothing there. And when you do a function 6, go back a page, function 4. Oh, okay, so it is a TI meeting.
Ah, good.
So why did it not save? That's because this is the SuperNotes Express card. Hang on, I'm all butterfingers.
Rented fingers today, huh?
So what I did is I switched pages and I had not previously pressed enter. So now I'll press the enter key. And you see how the cursor moves to the next line. Now if I do function 6 back and function 4, it saved it.
Voila.
So that's something that I was getting a mohawk from pulling the hair out of the side of my head, trying to figure out why it wasn't saving my data. And of course, read the docs,
Yes,
And
read the fine docs.
he
Yes,
explains
we
them.
all know about that.
So since previous Monday, I've been putting this through its paces. I found one minor bug in the editing and reported it to him in less than 24 hours. He had posted the new SNE software online that here, I fixed that. Because I was able to tell him exactly where I was having a problem. Ta-da! Okay, shut off the console, shut off the memory expansion. Did it again. So I can see that I'm eventually going to have to go downstairs and get my extensive notes that I wrote up for this meeting that I had somehow left. But in honor of my grandson, the On the TI 99ers Facebook page, Bob Roberts had posted his extensive TI software collection. And he had mentioned about how this is his accumulation of what he had, and he offered it freely to everyone. So of course, I downloaded it, and I found over 100 games in there, along with a lot of other stuff. I can highly recommend it. But here's one. I'm going to change disks, and we'll try running this program. So go to basic. Okay, so we've removed the virtual floppy disk from the virtual floppy drive number 1. And now we're telling it we want to put a disk into drive number 1. And it's going to be volume 3, comma 3, end parenthesis. That's your correct. Some people have said that you don't have to unmount a disk. You don't have to take it out and put another one in. But there is a very good chance that you will overwrite existing data that was on that previous disk, and the disk you put in just won't work. So it's always good form to do a call unmount before you do a mount.
This actually works very well as well with the real steel, because if you put another disk into a disk drive, for instance, you are asking for trouble without taking the other one out, of course. I know this empirically.
Okay, so we're going to run the boot program. Again, highly recommended. Boot completely changes the way you use the TI, because in this program, you can, here, I'll do it here. I'll do a function 5. You can edit boot on the program name you want to display and where it's at. So boot has worked very good with RAM disks, hard drives, yes, and even
SCSI drive.
even the Nano PEB. No, we're not going to save this. We could actually install it in a gram. This is back when the P-gram was a very popular device. What we're going to do, let's look at disk 1. Okay, and that is not the okay, that's a little confusing because I thought I had. Okay, I believe I gave the wrong command. One. 33. And we'll load boot again. Okay, is babies. Okay, I see it's an IV254, so that would be a
Extended basic.
extended basic, yes. Previous meeting we had, you were trying to run a catalog program, but catalog was actually a DV80 text file, which is why it wouldn't run. And I've noticed that in early numbers of the Chicago User Group library, they tended to do that. That was a text file rather than a runnable program. That's what was giving you fits with that. So we'll go back here. Quit. I'm going to turn off the console, turn off the Nano, remove the Supernotes cartridge.
You might want to show that one more time. I'm going to open the case here, if I may, and show what Mike has created. I'll turn this a little bit so you get a slightly different
Yes,
view.
Mike's notes were why he used a cassette case, because the regular cartridge case wouldn't fit those chips and wouldn't fit the switches. And so he put a hole in the case for a nut and a bolt to hold the cartridge in place. So when you go to push this thing in, you can put your thumb behind it and really give it a good push. And the rubber feet, of course, holds it at the
Pass it
correct
around.
angle in the cartridge port.
That's that's very, very clever. Cleverly done. Cleverly done. I like the fact that it's clear plastic as well. You see what the guts of the thing are, and it's got a little bit of wire wrapping on there, I guess.
Yes,
That's quite interesting.
yes. In his notes, he does mention some people by name who have given him help and advice on making it.
Is that a PC board that he had made or made himself, or is that a
It's probably
standard?
a repurposed editor assembler part.
Oh, here, let me go through it, because they're making new cartridge boards. Yeah, it's a new board.
It's a new board.
Because he mentions John Guidry, the Guidry board. Yes.
Oh, that is a good board. Okay.
Some folks use a particular game board, because he's talking about how they used to salvage EA cartridges and a hated game cartridge to make a super card.
Yeah.
And he says some folks use a particular game board, printed circuit board, to make their own super cards. But I personally was able to do this successfully only one time back in 1982 and never again. Plus, new boards are available now and easier to use. John Guidry has made these boards, and they are beautifully laid out, with each component identified by markings on the board. So for a novice, it's perfect. He talks about the necessary items you have to have. He likes to put the editor assembler GROM in a socket, because he's a hobbyist, and that way if he needs to, he could always take it off this board
Yeah.
and put on another one. He isn't trying to unsolder the thing. This project to build a supercard is very defined at AtariAge.com, where a procedure on how to build one is located, and at various other internet sites as well. He said, I will not have those procedures listed here, but I will give a brief description of the parts and procedures.
I wonder if someone is planning on producing some of those. I wonder if Greg McGill or
I thought Greg McGill had them on his site.
does Greg have those?
But I think the last time I looked to purchase one, they were not available.
Everything at Arcade Shoppers in flux. You know, if you want a Final GROM 99, if you want a Nano PB, they come and they go.
Yeah.
As the individuals who make those items make them available, and then they sell out quickly.
Yeah, I'm having the same problem with a device that I had to order from Spain. I guess it was made in Spain, is being shipped through Germany right now for it's called it's called the Mortessier hat, hardware on top, attached on top, I guess it is what it stands for. And it goes on a Raspberry Pi for navigation purposes on my sailboat. But yeah, I had to back order it, and they only make a few at a time. And it's but it's beyond my skills, that's for
An
sure.
on-demand kind of scenario.
Just-in-time manufacturing.
And then, yeah.
Well, this shifting gears here, we'll get back to Super Notes Express later on this meeting. But I've put in from the Bob Roberts Library from TI-99ers Babies. And this is called Bouncing Babies. Where that should be Frank and Gage, shouldn't it be, for the crew from Emergency? So here you can see the 3-story orphanage is on fire, and they're pitching the babies out the window, making it the responsibility of the firemen to bounce them into the open top of the ambulance. So if anybody wants to play this, I have to go downstairs and get my notes that I set up for this meeting.
Okay, you gamers, go for it. I'm afraid I'd kill a lot of babies. Oh, this is great. Now they're gonna have 2x2. Yeah.
Mhm.
You didn't happen to bring Zero Zap with you, did you? Zero Zap is the only game that I play. It's fully automatic.
Let's see how terrible it is.
Okay, well, the worst you could do is kill some electronic babies here. Okay, Jim Mazurka is going to show us how we do this.
Well, we'll see. Okay.
Remake. Rescue the babies from the burning hospital. Move the firemen with the 1, 2, 3 keys. Place them under the falling babies and bounce them into the waiting ambulance. Okay, we'll see.
Okay, let's see how this goes.
Oh, that wasn't too bad.
Well, I'm not playing yet.
Oh. Oops.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
Oops.
We got babies splattered on the sidewalk here. You're pretty good at this. Obviously, you're coordinated.
Oops. Sometimes I'm coordinated.
see
Often
that.
I get confused.
Flattery. Flattery doesn't work.
Oops.
Press P to play or 1 for info.
Oh, they're back on demo mode. Try one more time.
I would have just left it on demo mode and let everybody think that.
Well, it's
they're really
obvious
good
it's
at
on
it, yeah.
demo mode.
It's nicely programmed. I like the auditory keys because it tells you when to press your key. You're splattering a lot of these kitties here.
Oops. Oh, well.
Well, one out of 2 ain't bad. And that's 500 in NFL and the Major League Baseball. You know, you make a living on that. But
Would anyone else care to try?
yeah, go ahead, go for it, Ken.